This is Ms. Delau here again. I'm here to help you through the body paragraphs of your argumentative essay. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the notes that we took in class, and this follows the React format, but these are all the different steps that you're going to need to do in order to complete your body paragraphs. On the right side here, you will see the body paragraph graphic organizer that you're filling out and completing for homework. So let's start with the first part here. The first box is going to be your topic sentence. A topic sentence just pretty much presents the main idea of your paragraph. So your main idea is going to be, did Eliza Doolittle's internal identity change from the beginning to the end? Did she remain the same? Did she change? And you need to provide a specific internal identifier that either changed and remained the same. Let's take a look at the model essay. Remember, in this model essay, we're looking at Mr. Doolittle. Audiences meet Mr. Doolittle for the first time in Act 2. Mr. Doolittle is dressed as a dustman, which is his profession. By the end of the play, we see a dramatic change in Mr. Doolittle's external appearance, but internally, he remained the same self-centered man. As you can see, we identified that he remained the same internally, and that the identifier that we're going to be finding evidence on will be that he is self-centered. Please pause the video here and make sure that you have a topic sentence that introduces if Eliza Doolittle changed or remained the same, and the specific internal identifier that you will be discussing in this paragraph. Okay, next up is evidence. Now, you can't just start quoting your evidence. You need to introduce the evidence first. So take a look at your evidence and ask yourself, what's going on? What would I need to tell someone who never read this play before? Let's look here. For example, we start with our transition. Mr. Doolittle comes into Henry Higgins' home to exploit an opportunity to get money from Higgins, attempting to have Higgins pay for the opportunity to conduct the experiment upon Eliza, Mr. Doolittle says. So again, there are two parts of a quotation sandwich. The first part of the quotation sandwich is orienting the reader, letting them know what's happening at the time of the story. And the second part is identifying the speaker. You will see one more. You will see a third part, which is a transition. So pause the video, and again, you're looking for three things. Did you start your introduction with a transition? Did you orient the reader and let them know what's going on at the time of the quote? And lastly, did you identify the speaker? Pause the video and find all three. After you've introduced the evidence, it's now time to copy your evidence directly from the text. So this part here, if you already found your evidence and it was approved in your yellow graphic organizer, it should be the easiest. You are going to make sure that you copy the evidence directly from the text. You're going to make sure that this evidence supports your claim. This evidence here, if you take the time to read it, is supporting how Mr. Doolittle is self-centered in the beginning of the text. Notice that it is directly word for word from the text. It has quotation marks on each end, and it has a correct citation. This is very important right here. Pause the video and make sure that you have direct evidence that supports your claim, that is in quotation marks, and ends with a citation. After your evidence comes what I feel to be the most important yet challenging part, which is the analysis. Take a look at your evidence, and now, so what? What does this mean to you? You need to prove how your evidence supports your claim. First comes first, you always need to make sure you start with a transition. Use your blue reference sheet that has transitions in it to make sure that you start with appropriate transition. From this offer, as you can see, this shows, this proves, those are all examples. And then explain in at least 2 sentences how this evidence supports your claim. The model essay says, We can tell that Mr. Doolittle is perfectly willing to hand his daughter over to strangers for a small amount of money so that he can entertain himself. His desire to get rid of Eliza indicates the depth of his selfishness. So there's a couple things that I really like from this model essay. One, you're not just restating the evidence. Two, there are two really strong sentences that are really proving how this piece of evidence up here shows how Mr. Doolittle is extremely self-centered. Pause the video and check that your analysis is at least two strong sentences, and you start with the transition. Okay, we need to repeat the process one more time for our second piece of evidence. So before our evidence, we need to introduce. We need to introduce what happened at the time of the quote for evidence number 2. This gives a little bit of background information as to someone who has never read the play, and they wouldn't know what this quote meant unless you kind of wrote up here what happened. It starts with a transition. So these are transitions like additionally, also, next, right? These are transitions that are going to add more information. After you have your transition, then you need to kind of set up the quote. Orient the reader as to what's going on and identify the speaker. Pause the video and make sure you have a transition. You orient the reader, and then you end with identifying the speaker. Pause the video now, please. After you introduce the evidence, now it's time to copy the evidence. Make sure that the evidence is strong and it truly supports your claim. Make sure it is directly from the text, word for word. Make sure it's in quotation marks with a proper citation. Pause the video now and make sure that you have direct from the text, quotation marks, and citation at the end. Okay, we are almost done. We have 2 more steps to complete. We need our second analysis for a second piece of evidence. Again, we always start our analysis with a transition. This demonstrates, this illustrates, as you can see. This shows, this proves, are all appropriate transitions. After you have your transition, you need 2 strong sentences explaining how your evidence supports your claim that Eliza either changed at the end or she remained the same. And last, but certainly not least, you need to close your paragraph with a concluding sentence, something that will kind of wrap up the ending and just kind of summarize everything in one sentence. So here in the model essay we have, in fact, that's a transition, Mr. Doolittle may be wearing silken clothes and expensive shoes, but he is a loud reminder that it takes more than a fancy suit to transform a character. So they, in a very nice way, the author of this model essay, summarized that he, although he changed on the outside, he remained the same on the inside. Pause this video and check your closing sentence. Okay, you have now finished your first body paragraph, but how many body paragraphs do we need? We in fact need 2. So in order for you to complete your second body paragraph, you need to do this video again. In a moment, I'm going to say restart the video. You're going to restart the video from the beginning and go through these slides again with your second body paragraph. All the steps of the body paragraph will remain the same. You need a topic, evidence, analysis, another piece of evidence, another analysis, and a closing thought. However, the only difference with this second body paragraph is now you are proving something else. You're not going to write that he's self-centered again. You're going to choose a different internal identifier and explain how that internal identifier either changed or remained the same. Any questions, please reach out. I really hope that these videos help you, and I hope that you are ready to go for Friday's final copy. All right, remember, this is a test grade and we need your full effort.